Does a grocery store horrify you because you have to take out of your 401k just to afford beef and cheese? Do the gas pumps give you such a crippling level of anxiety that the only way you found relief is to take your small children and make them sell their Christmas gifts on the curb a couple of weeks before Christmas? Have you heard about this thing called inflation? It's been in the news a lot lately. And a lot of people are saying it's worse than we thought. But what is it really and how does it affect us? In this video, I'm gonna break down for you what inflation is, what the government is doing about it, and what the future looks like for us as consumers. So what is inflation and how did we get here? The simplest answer is things are getting more expensive and you can't buy as much of them with your money. Whether it's goods and services or gas and groceries, your dollar just doesn't go as far as it used to. Now, the rate of inflation is displayed as a percentage. For example, when you hear in the news that inflation is up 2, 4, or 9%, that means your dollar buys that much percentage less than it did over the measured period of time. The main metric that the government uses to measure inflation is called the CPI, or Consumer Price Index. Now, an index is just a measure or a group of something. And the Consumer Price Index takes 80,000 of the most commonly used goods and services from food, energy, transportation, and medical. And it determines the average price. The cost of these goods, month over month, makes up the Consumer Price Index. Essentially, changes in the CPI are indicative of your cost of living. So what causes this inflation? Well, very simply, it's more money in the marketplace. More money in circulation can sometimes happen by government printing it out and stimulating the economy, which we've seen some of in the last couple of years. It can also occur by a government devaluing currency and saying, guess what? Your dollar is no longer worth anything. We are now switching to Dogecoin. And the other way is the banks lending more money into circulation. Hence interest rates being super duper low last year, even under 3%, allowing more people more purchasing power. When people have more money, it leads to positive consumer sentiment. This will lead to higher and higher spending, which leads to an uneven demand versus supply. Demand goes higher and supply can't keep up, hence prices go higher, ipso facto, inflation. Now, inflation can be viewed as positive or negative depending on what situation you're in. If you're a homeowner or you have investment properties, some inflation is good because that's the appreciation of your asset and your asset will go up in value over time. However, rapid inflation like we've experienced is not so good. Hence the price corrections that we're seeing with the housing prices coming down. So what does this mean for your life, your food, your house? How does this affect you directly? A lot of us are just some consumers with some families trying to make it by. Well, according to the Consumer Price Index, food is up 10.6% as of the end of November 2022. That means you are paying 10.6% more for your cheese, your milk, and your charcuterie boards than you were paying last year this time. Energy and services are up 13.1%. That means you're paying more for your gasoline, your oil, and your natural gas. This affects your monthly bill. It makes your budget even tighter. Not only that, but transportation starts to go up, including the price of new and used vehicles. So if you're in the market for a vehicle because yours is wrecked or in the shop, or you had a bunch of kids and now you gotta upgrade, you might be out of luck because now you can't afford one. Since May of 2021, inflation has steadily increased month over month, peaking at 9.1% in June of 2022. But let me ask you this, did your wages go up when inflation went up? Did your boss look at you and you say, hey, you know, times are hard, here's more money? If he did, was it enough to match the massive rate of inflation that's been happening? Probably not if you're like 90% of Americans, and herein lies the problem. So what is the government actually doing about it? So the role of the Federal Reserve is to do their best to maintain a balanced economy. They're trying to control the amount of money in circulation and slow the economy down by slowing down spending. One way they do this is by increasing the interest rates on money that is borrowed. Last year, we were able to get home loans, sometimes under 3%. This year, as of today, the prime mortgage rate, which means the base level rate for the nation, is at 7.5%. That's more than double. So that makes it harder for people to buy houses because with a higher interest rate, you have a higher monthly payment, which means you can't necessarily afford the house that you want or will fit your needs. And so that decreases your purchasing power, thus slowing down spending. Now, this also makes it tough on the sellers out there because some of the sellers are in a position to where they have to sell their house, whether they're moving or they're retiring. But since the demand just isn't there anymore because of the interest rates, the housing prices on the market are coming down. Another thing the IRS did to help us out with inflation was change the tax brackets this year. They're allowing you to shelter more of your money because the cost of goods increased so rapidly. Traditional ways inflation is fought is when the government invests in infrastructure like roads, bridges, and other public work projects. The idea behind this is creating a better environment that will make it easier for businesses to operate and create more opportunities and jobs. This in turn leads to inflation slowing down or even reversing at some point. Another traditional way is offering tax advantages to businesses. This allows them to create more goods here in America, increasing our economic self-sufficiency and decreasing the supply problem because now we're able to make more goods. The strain on the supply chain has also been a major factor, affecting the supply and demand curve, increasing the price of goods in a lot of different markets. So what does the future look like? Well, let me tell you, because I don't know and no one else does. Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and according to his latest press release, inflation rates have continued to drop, coming in at a new low in November 2022 at 7.1%. This was lower than they expected. The goal for the Federal Reserve is to get inflation down to 2%, and they've stated how they're going to continually and systematically increase interest rates to help do just this. They are encouraged by this recent decrease that what they are doing will continue to work, and they're going to continue to do it until the goal is reached. He stated that every month they're evaluating the data and making decisions based on that. Now, this definitely means a slowdown in the housing market. But depending on your situation, this can provide opportunities for some, but disadvantages for others. If you're a buyer and you can deal with the interest rate because you know you can refinance later, this presents a lot of opportunity to negotiate and even get some awesome deals on some property. However, for the seller, it may force you to take an offer that is less than desirable. And for all of you guys out there that aren't looking to buy or sell, it only takes one desperate seller in your neighborhood to affect your whole neighborhood's housing prices. Because when you are ready to list, the most recent comparable sold properties are what the appraiser uses to determine your home's value. Some say we're already in a recession. No one really knows what's going to happen with the housing market in 2023. But I will say this. Keep hope alive. If you continue to plug away, turn your mind off from a lot of the news, and do your best to be responsible with your money every single day, you, yes, you will make it through this.